they can get done with a pair of double flashes in Mighty Max's hands.
Fairly standard start to things for the CG side of Endpoint. Kalinka, the only one upgrading to the longer range P250 on the T side of things as well. Picks himself up a smoke and a flash behind it. And a nice slow start to things for HellRaisers, managing to get some mid control early on, forcing Mighty Max, of course, without that armor off of the initial close range angles and into a more passive role. But Endpoint have responded by taking tunnels control pretty much entirely. Surreal and Flames are pushing all the way through. That should give them so much info, but Kalinka, well, he's going to start popping heads. First shot onto Crucial connects, and it's onto Robin really to hold down a long, only able to get one before the trade. And that aggression has to come through very swiftly now. Already 2 players pushing up towards short as JR takes the fight, and he's going to be found by Surreal. So potentially a very odd situation. The CT's retaking A from short, the T's taking A from long, and it's going to lead to a very awkward firefight. The headshot's going to connect for Flames, though, as he takes out Kalinka and trying to get into the bomb site. He's traded out by Jalem, 2-on-2. And Surreal and Mighty Max, they're just trying to play the timings, but Mighty Max has taken a lot of damage already. And without that armor, he's got to be very careful. He's getting even more aggressive all the way up to the elevator now. The Surreal goes for the flank all the way out long.
Surreal needs to connect with the shots, but he's been headshot down early on. It was through a wall, so there is that to help. A Flourish, beautiful jumping headshot down into Mighty Max's head. Surreal, a disappointing performance in Mirage, but he could rectify the situation in the next round because he's dead. Flourish killed him. Flourish seems to be doing a lot of that today, apparently. That's just how Flourish works. I'm just sorry. I'm just happy that my prediction of this man coming out to frag is coming out to be true. However, I really hope Surreal steps it up in this particular map. We didn't see the same Surreal Crucial combo that I've come to love in the first one, and I have to start thinking and wondering how much has Thomas's departure really affected them. Nice shot comes in into Flames, the new boy on the block. He has had a few great moments, but of course still a lot to prove. So big shoes to fill, but Surreal is filling up JR's head with some very, very nasty bullets.
Nice start to things. The third scout recovered. And Crucial, he's going to hit a headshot of his own. Kalinka quickly there on the trade, but of course that man advantage still remains for Endpoint, and it's going to be a question of what they can really do with it. Flames down on 29 HP on that scout, and HellRaisers only with one bomb site in mind. All 3 players now queuing up towards short, and it is Flames on the A ramp on that low HP, trying to hold it down. And there is a Molotov for Flourish as well. This could get awkward for that scout. So the execute is going to be called. Full util to commit. Still a minute left on the clock, so time really not an issue. But HellRaisers, they want to get moving immediately. Molotov drops shallow. Nice tag from Flames to find the first, and he's got a lot of damage done. Potentially something the Deagle can capitalize on, and indeed, Surreal will find the frag now. 4-on-2, and Flames, he switches straight out to the Deagle. Flairich has crouched all the way around this corner, but it doesn't matter. The flick, the headshot, the bomb down as Kalinka is left 1v4. He's stuck on short, and Robin with the P2000 will tap away. Endpoint, the force buy is absolutely perfect. They get their first round on the board, and is it going to be the battle of the force buys?
Those 2 Deagle shots coming out from Surreal are absolutely mustard, and I'm looking forward to seeing if that's going to be the form that he keeps bringing out. Crucial, no surprises that he's just really good with the scout. Dust 2 in particular is where I think I've seen Endpoint come out with the most force fire wins in any map, just off the back of Crucial's scout, so there's always going to be a chance with them. Mighty Max, UMP, and left a bit lonely on the B-bomb side early on before Crucial comes over to back him up. Robin is going to take contact in mid. JM goes down. The Ds have invested quite a bit into this. HellRaisers wanting to come back and smack the CTs out of relevance. However, when you lose this one, if you lose this one, you're giving Endpoint maybe a bit more of a lead than you want to on their CT side. Oh! Okay.
Nice little shot from JR. Starts to level things out a bit. Kalinka's still low on HP, so the firepower advantage and the man advantage still just about with Endpoint for the time being. And Robin looking to tip those scales a little bit further. Takes the peek in towards middle. Spots out one player towards top, but doesn't want to overcommit. And you can understand it. He's just watched his teammate have his head ripped off in middle. And that's giving HellRaisers a little bit of room to breathe as well. They've managed to get 2 players up short. They've got Kalinka still lurking, still making sure there's no more of that pistol round aggression in towards the tunnels. And if a couple of Deagle shots land here, if Surreal is dealt with on the bomb site, there's potentially a plant, potentially $800. and half a chance to get something going. It's going to have to be a quick shot, though. Surreal is biding his time with that Galil, waiting for the time to strike, and any second now he should get this peak. They're going up quietly. They're not giving him any utility, any sign. And JR, that's a beautiful deke. His second of the round. He's starting to show up. The flank from Kalinka is good for one more. And somehow, HellRaisers, they're a man up. They've got a bomb plant down, and Endpoint need to find themselves the retake.
Robin and Flames against the power of Deagles. Not a power that's easy to overcome. We've seen already. They do have a kit, but no utility to go with. Flames fighting back. Great shot on the Flare's head, but can't finish them off. Flames is now left in a 1v3. 2 quick kills. Actually, it was a one from Robin as well. However, a quick kill will put him in a 1v1. Kalinka will need to start moving forward, but he's got full faith in his read. Kalinka is not going to be spotted. He's going to start coming in to the back of Flames. Flames gets the shot. Don't know if he has time, and he definitely doesn't. Backs off, and he will end up losing his gun as well. HellRaisers, off the back of 2 fantastic Deagle kills, take it to the second round, and it's Dust 2, Jackie. It's Dust 2, and what better way to start off with back-to-back Deagle wins?
And back-to-back Force buys as Endpoint are going to try and make it happen again. Scouts, Deagles to try and find it, but it's getting worse and worse. As Robin is tagged up through the doors, there's an AWP this time for JR. There's AKs for Flarich and Kalinka. There's a MAC-10 for JM to try and farm some cash, and Robin's got himself a Galil. So the firepower is getting more and more difficult to deal with, and it's a fast-paced take-up short, perhaps smelling blood here, HR. So they look to take map control away early. JR, it's an interesting call to go armorless against the Scouts, but he's going to find the first through the door regardless. Robin goes down on the second try. And already a man short. Surreal wants to try and knock things out, but that is a beautiful angle and a beautiful reaction shot from Kalinka to find the second. And Endpoint, the numbers are being thinned. They've got a fantastic flank here from Mighty Max, but he's got to get so much done. He whiffs the first, able to find at least one on the shot. Does he expect that second player towards long? This could get awkward, actually, but oh, Flames, you can't miss those, my friend. He manages to recover to bring it back into the 3-on-3, but as Flarich's flank finally pays off, it's Crucial and Flames to try and recover. Flames low HP will be dealt with, and Crucial, he's only got that Scout and 32 health.
When Flames got on top of the box, I'm just thinking in my head, okay, here we go again. Bomb's about to be dropped. Deagle kill's about to come in. Yeah, there's no way HellRaisers wins that round. But a few missed bullets there means that we are back to some semblance of sanity. We are back to the idea of gas saving for the next round. So Endpoint will not be purchasing anything going into this one. Loss bonus, of course, absolutely in the bin. So even in the next one, you're not going to see an AWP coming out unless maybe Crucial is able to get, 3 kills with a USB. Seems like a bit much to ask for, but, you know, weirder things have happened, I suppose. Probably.
We've seen miracles before.
Yeah. Yeah, well, just the other day, my Stoop split into 2, though. Now, mine went my Stoop. Crucial and Flames does end up falling. Mighty Max will be up next, and although they're good for one is not really good for anything.
It's about what you can expect from an eco, really. They manage to find one frag, they overwhelm one player, and then the rifles come into their own. The ranged fights start to favor those AK-47s. The damage is just too significant. So HellRaisers, an early 4-1 lead after the Battle of the Four Spies goes their way. And, well, Endpoint, despite buying into this one, they've not really managed to recover from that battle. They're low on utility. Nobody's got any head armor. There's no AWP, and there's no defuse kits. So plenty of sacrifices made, and they want to make up for it with a fast long take here. There's a player posted up blue, though, and they've got to be so careful. Flames out in no man's land will be the first to fall. Kalinka to get the early opening, and they actually want more here as well. Still pushing through. There's so much damage done, but Robin, he's trying to play anti-flash. He's caught off by JM inside of the smoke. Crucial can't get it done. And how has this fallen apart? Crucial should have had the drop. JR reads him. Flarich from short finds Surreal. And this was the full buy. This was their opportunity. It has been demolished. There is damage to work with, though. And Mighty Max, he'll open things up with a double.
Mighty Max is left in a 1v3, and that is very quickly eliminated. Now, I really hate to rag on one player, but Flames missing a shot, playing from next to blue is really the end of that over there. Afterwards, the smoke that Endpoint through on their own to actually get a player into pit. Ends up working out against them. The pit player and the player opposite to him can't work together to have a decent crossfire going. Nothing's really working out for them, and yeah, I don't know if this round will be any different. They do have deagles, and we did see them being very deadly with those before. There's a stack on short, so feasibly something is possible. Flames needs to hit his shots though. JM will spawn out the player, and they're backing off to see where they want to go. Still plenty of time. HellRaisers can wait it out should they want to try and hit the B-bomb site as well.
Fairly committed at this point with the control that they've got. 1 minute and 15 left, as you said, but they're going to go straight through the smokes. They're going to commit to this, and JR is going to hit a nice shot to open things up. Flames, Deagle on the bomb site, not quite able to connect, and a man down again, Endpoint, just hoping to catch some kind of timings, but it's JR with a second up close and personal. His teammates there to bail him out. And wow, HellRaisers, they dealt with what was near enough a 4-man stack of that bomb site very, very swiftly indeed. 6-1 the scoreline. And you look at that cash for HellRaisers, they are absolutely flush. As Endpoint, the buy is a little better than previously. Crucial does have his AWP. There is one defuse kit on Mighty Max, but they need to start finding some consistency if they're going to have any chance here. And Flairich, well, he's even bought himself an extra scout to try and line up a shot initially.
Robin missed like 3 deagle shots on the players who were looking at him as well. So that's never going to be fantastic. So a bit unfortunate, but I suppose they were moving. It's a bit awkward of an angle. Surveil over in mid finds the first kill at the very least, and the B bomb site setup that seems to be coming over could quickly be sent packing. Surreal still sticking around. The bomb starting to make its way backwards towards T-spawn. They're debating on whether or not it's worth it to still go for a B site hit. What they're really relying on is JR and his AWP potentially finding a quick pick. The CTs are bound to get aggressive at one point, but JR has now revealed himself, and the CTs will re-smoke and use this opportunity to reaffirm their defenses off this B bomb site. 55 seconds on the clock, and should they now want to go in towards B, it would be a bit of a meat grinder, so we'll have to wait to find out how they want to play. They don't even have a secondary smoke for the lurk smoke, so there'll only be a smoke to go out towards B doors. This is going to be very awkward.
Going to require some very swift shots. Mighty Max close on the angle, toying with another peek, won't commit as Surreal is posted. Beautiful angle to try and punish, and there you go, first pick, bomb down. Rotations can start to be called. They've got Kalinka to try and cut them out in towards mid, but they can't get into the bomb site. Surreal with a second onto JM, leaves just JR. Kalinka will get something done in mid, but the trade comes through pretty swiftly, and well, that's it. HellRaisers, their B bomb site hit, doesn't even make it onto the site itself. It's shut down in the tunnels, it's shut down in middle, and that just felt like a missed call to me. They committed very early. All their presence was in the tunnels, and they just couldn't quite get out. They couldn't find anything at all.
I don't even know if it was a missed call, to be honest, because they had Molotovs. They just didn't use them. Surreal didn't have a single piece of utility thrown for him. There wasn't a single counter flashbang. There was nothing at all. And Surreal just found duel after duel after duel and locked them out completely. Again, a really awkward setup for the B bomb site from HellRaisers, seeming a little bit unprepared even.
Gonna mix it up this time with a little bit of mid control. Robin thinking about potentially going through that smoke as Kalinka. They know he's been forced. They've heard him in the Molotov. Mighty Max with the spam through will find him. And now Robin looking to go through the smoke, punished. And Mighty Max does have support on this bomb site. He does have Surreal over towards B. The HellRaisers, interestingly, have just dumped 2 mollies into CT. Not committed at all. Left Problem on 7 HP. And they're going to look to reroute up short, hoping maybe that they've drawn a rotation. Lovely shot from JR to take out Crucial, and actually, that starts to open things up a little bit. Flames stuck in towards the elevator is going to be able to do nothing about this unless he takes out Flairich. That's bombed down on the cross to short, and that buys time. He's dealt with by Jalem in 3-on-2, but that bomb down has bought a little bit more time for the rotations.
Mighty Max and Surreal, oh, that grenade would be beautiful if it was a little bit closer towards lower tunnels. So obviously, they can't know that the problem's still around there. But Problem's now given them the information that he's heard them going back in towards mid. Should Endpoint start to move in towards the B tunnels, they will have an opportunity to pick up an AK-47. But losing a weapon at this stage would be incredibly detrimental. Mighty Max will take him down and backs off At the end of the day, they will have a buy in the next round, however awkward it may be, should they want to go for it. However, 7-2 and HellRaisers are not even on the favored side of Dust 2, arguably. I will add the caveat that HellRaisers on CT side, after the Inferno game we saw, I'm not sure how well they'll perform. So them getting the double digits on T side might be a requirement to actually win the game.
It'll be interesting to say the least, but so far they have looked the dominant force. They have been consistent, they've hit their shots, and Endpoint have been punished for every mistake they've made thus far. They will have another bye and another crack at it, the UK boys, to try and find pretty much anything. Any opening pick would be fantastic, and they may well get their chance. 3 players long as Problem flashed out. He's going to try and push all the way around. Crucial on the edge of the smoke will find the first. Now, finally, Endpoint find themselves a man up early. They've managed to cling on to that long control as well, and they forced HR to rethink their plans, and they've done that very swiftly. JM is already 2/3 of the way out of mid as the CTs start to rotate Robin.
Robin's position is huge. He's holding his trigger, but he's missing his shots as well. Robin is now going to have to boost up his teammate. Instead, they'll try to find something, but Flames... And by this time, does he realize that Kalinka's already taking control over short completely? The bomb can make its way over. The only problem is that FlareH has lost a teammate. So a 2v5, yes, but one where the bomb plant is almost guaranteed and is certainly a doable situation. They don't have any Molotov on the CT side. Robin's a bit low as well. Flames is already taking a duel, which he's not likely to win. Kalinka, with the first kill, comes out. Kalinka's repositioning to try and find a bit more from short. He realized the way they're coming in from. He's moving backwards. Flare still has not been contested and long. Flashbang is avoided. Now they'll start double peeking in. Beautiful headshot from Kalinka to open it up, and he's going for more. He's wide swung into the AWP. Kalinka's done it all. Well, Flare has 2 kills to go. Still has to tap these players away. They're going for the vertical double peek. Flames can try and stick the defuse. He's going for it. Flare will find the first. Flare sees the head over the crate, but although he finds all the kills, they do end up losing the round. I will say, if I'm HellRaisers, I'm probably okay with that. That's a 2v5.
It was certainly a strong effort, and if that bomb was planted for him, there was a world where he won that. It was just unfortunate that it was planted for short. The damage, regardless, has been done. HellRaisers, all those rounds on the board, they've got a full buy an Endpoint. They've made a lot of sacrifices. Crucial, no armor as the damage is starting to be pushed out along, and first player to fall is Flames. That FAMAS, one of those major sacrifices, is already gone. Crucial, now going to be put under pressure. Without that armor, the nades will do ever so much more. HellRaisers already a man up, are looking to compound that. Crucial with a nice shot will make it at least a 4-on-4 for a split second before JR can equalize things. And again, HR are so quick. Jalen has already dropped into CT despite the player pushed on short, and HR are going to look to get that bomb in early.
Mighty Max is the difference maker, but Flerich is expecting him and is ready for him. Mighty Max, once he peeks out, he's taken down immediately. Robin and Surreal, you have to save it. You don't even have lost balance because you won the previous round where you lost all of your guns, and sure, Surreal comes in with a quick kill over here. He's in a 1v4. Honestly, if that 2 guns, yes, you save, but now you probably have to go for it. Surreal realizes this. They're not going to have a buy in the next round regardless. You can't really do much with just the saved M4A4. If you can find an AWP, that would be great, but this isn't enough, so he has to go for it. It's a 1v2 on the site itself. Flairage is actually sitting on the back lines, and he's in the perfect spot to be able to pick up a quick kill. Surreal will fall, and Endpoint is left without any money whatsoever.
Indecisive from Surreal as well. Wasn't sure if he wanted to stick or twist. Hoped that maybe a pick on that bomb site would give him something to anchor around, but gets caught out as he retreats late on. And HellRaisers, this one should be a freebie. Again, Endpoint, no real cash, no real economy. They're going to be down onto the P250s, the default pistols, and it's going to be a straight mid-rush here. Flerich should have the time of his life, but he's starting to get a little overwhelmed. He hasn't actually pulled the trigger yet. Well, Robin's going to punish him for that. The first frag, unbelievably, goes the way of Team Endpoint. Mighty Max recovers himself an AK, a Molotov, and I would be very surprised if we see him doing anything other than saving. Bomb goes down, and these pistols, they're just going to be looking for whatever they can find. Kalinka takes the tink as well. He goes down to 12 HP, so potentially a second rifle on the cards for the CT side, which would be fantastic. But Endpoint, they want to take no risks at all. They're committing 2 players to bodyguarding Mighty Max on that AK-47, making sure that rifle makes its way into the next round. So not really looking to take too much more away. JM at range will deal with Robin, and Mighty Max actually playing with fire a little bit, a very slightly aggressive angle, slightly more so than I would like to see him take anyway, as his teammates are starting to be thinned around him. JM and Problem helping themselves to the eco frags, and Mighty Max, well, he's going to be happy just to keep his hands on that AK-47, give his teammates something to buy around into this next one, and hopefully something to form a little bit of a comeback, because they're already 6 rounds down, and any more is going to be absolutely brutal.
This is already a very disappointing CT side from Endpoint at best. Even if they come back to 6, it's going to be a hodgepodge affair, which you can't really put much faith in if you're a fan of this. Crucial will find the first kill. Re-peeks out, but doesn't realize Flourish has already moved past, and he misses a shot. Flourish faces out, takes him down despite the opportunity to quickscope. Crucial cannot utilize it. Flames sees Flourish pushing for a Molotov. Flames is missing shots, but once Flourish is ducked down and hit away, he will be able to take him down. CTs have found the ultimate advantage, as it seems like Problem in a 1v3 doesn't really have a chance. However, he's been allowed the cross onto a bomb site. This could end up being another incredibly expensive round for Endpoint, should they even win it.
When you get the bomb down, there is always a chance. Problem, no utility, no nothing, just has to take the peaks, and the nade is dunked. He's down to 34. Robin will make absolutely sure there's no funny business. Endpoint will have their 4th round on the board. It's expensive. They lose 2. If they can save the double AWP setup that they invested so heavily into, it's not all bad. And indeed, they will be able to recover those. They should be able to form a pretty solid buy off the back of it. And HellRaisers, well, they'll be dropping pretty much to the end of the half at this point. 2 players above 9k, 7.8 for Jalen. They're fine. They're going to keep on pushing. It's not going to get any easier for Endpoint, and they need to try and find at least 1 more, if not 2 more rounds to make this CT side viable.
And at the same time, HellRaisers, you can say the same for them. As good as this CSAN has been, they need double digits, like I mentioned earlier. Surreal will peek in. He'll realize that there's no one initially towards that. Okay, JR peeking into mid with an AK-47. Even gets damage onto 2 players. I don't know what that's about.
It's a brave call, to say the least, but he manages to make it work. He gets a lot of damage out of it as well, so a net win indeed for the T side initially, and they are going to take some mid control off the back of it. A couple of players pushing up, taking control, and CT side, you can see they just don't want to make any mistakes, playing relatively passively across the map, just sitting back on their bomb sites. They've got Flames pushed up into pit. That's about as aggressive as it gets for the CT side at the moment. But now at least it's working. No picks found. No early advantages. Surreal looks to boost over the top of the smoke and just about misses the shot onto JR. Very fortunate to get away with his life there, the HL player. And it's very fortunate indeed, because he had the bomb on his back. That could have been a lot given away to the CT side. Instead, HellRaisers, they pull a fast one, and they look to commit very heavily to short.
Mighty Max has got full information of this, though, but by the time they start to rotate over, there's only 30 seconds left on the clock. The question is, what can Robin do playing from Goose to support Crucial? The Molotov comes in, so Robin can't peek out. Crucial has to do it all himself, and Problem's found, and Robin, while blind, will connect with the shots, but Flair trades away. A 2v3, and Kalinka's positioning is perfect to catch off 2 players, potentially, but he had to get the flick. Mighty Max now expected it, and Flair is left in such a difficult spot. Surreal jumps up, knocks on his head, and says, hello. Takes the round away.
That'll do it, boys. Endpoint have their 5th. It's a little bit fortunate. JR shot his own teammate in the back as they look to swing up short, and it's just chaotic that works out in the end. It's just the chaos, the flames. Robin, not mollied out of Goose, is just able to swing time and time again, causing absolute havoc. The crossfires hold. And Endpoint, they get a 5th round. It's not going to get any easier, though. There's still AKs. Kalinka, the only one who's really making the sacrifice, drops down onto the MAC-10 to get the full util. And I've got to say, ever since Endpoint brought those double AWPs out, it's been working for them. This time, fast B to try and pile that pressure on. And Max to find the first. Surreal with a pick onto JR to keep it viable. It's 4-on-3, but the B-bomb site is lost, at least for now. Surreal wants to try and deny one of those plant positions, but it's just going to lead to JM planting nicely for the tunnels. And they do have Flareich posted up.
Nate goes in to Car. I was wondering where he was lining up for initially. Kalinka's got a Mac 10, and he dodges 2 players entirely. Takes a lot of damage through the door, but it gives him information of where all of the CT side players are. They need to be completely focused on these doors, and Kalinka is not paying attention in time. Robin's found one. JM is getting another, but the retake is there from Endpoint. With 2 players alive, they're able to get the job done. It's not pretty, it's not clean, and it's definitely not the Endpoint we're used to, but they do find themselves some sort of a semi-respectable finish towards the end of that first half.
And at 9-6, the demons of the previous map start to come back into play for HR, right? Their CT side was not good on Inferno, and I would argue CT side on Dust 2 is just as difficult. The rotations are just as important, and if Endpoint can punish, if they can be aware of what happened in the previous and really play those rotations and punish on their T side, there's still a world where the UK boys can get back into things. It's an awkward finish, and honestly a little bit fortunate that they got the rounds they got, but 9-6 regardless, an Endpoint an opportunity to make it happen on the T side.
I mean, the one thing that I will give in the favor of HellRaisers compared to Inferno is that JR is better on Dust.
Yeah,
on the CT side. So that should be a big difference maker potentially coming through. But the other point is also now there's Crucial, who is apparently this guy who's kind of good at this game, from what I've heard. Might be just a rumor, but Problem's giving me a rumor of death, and Surreal is going to be the one to fall. JR with the B2K, very crisp initial shot, makes it look like a USB, and then he does back off. Flames is being flanked, but we'll find Kalinka to quickly decapitate him. Jalem, who's close behind, is now waiting for the T side push into lower tunnels, and instead of aggressing forward, he's used to back off. The T's have heard it, and with that, they've taken full control over lower tunnels and mid. There's a jump spot that comes out from Problem. He scouts out these players, and he will be backing off to the side quickly. HellRaisers, with the advantage, don't want to give anything up, but they are letting the T's group up and go up short.
No reason to give any more picks away after Kalinka's flank was red. They're only 1 man up, and happy to sit back at least for now. Utility will come in. The execute will be planned out by the T side of Endpoint. They are a man down. Molotov to force Problem into an awkward spot. He'll retreat towards Goose, hoping to support his teammate, whose Flareich just finding shots. They just make it look easy. They're picking them apart. Mighty Max able to get at least 1 more, but Jalem rotates in. HellRaisers have themselves double digits, and it's a beautifully clean pistol round. The aggression towards middle, the initial pick comes from there. JR is there when the inevitable fast B push comes in, because they know there's aggression mid. They think, okay, maybe B's a little bit empty. JR hits his shots, and then it's just traded beautifully. Endpoint, even without the bomb plant, are going to go for a 4 spy. They're going to have 3 Deags, a tech, and Crucial on that scout. We've spoken so much about how good he can be. Let's see what he can do now.
Surreal does have the Deagle, which bailed him out of an awkward situation in the first half as well, so maybe he can find something. He's top fragging in this game, but oh no, Kalinka's found the first. Flames, great headshot onto Kalinka. He quickly equalized, but Jalem, he has an M4A4, so mid is going to be almost impossible to penetrate. Flashes are coming in. Jalem's got that control. Jalem's got that shot, and Crucial tries to repeat through the gap, but doesn't find anything. With that, a 4v3, and HellRaisers are again content with resetting and letting this round go forth, with Endpoint being the ones out to make the move.
They're playing it smart, HellRaisers. Jalem didn't reaggress, didn't give Crucial the chance to hit him on that scout. He knows punishment can come through, so he just resets, just falls back through the smoke. Now the B hit comes in, but it's the MP9 of Problem that's going to cause all of the problems. 2, 3 quick frags on the spray down. It's all too easy when they're lacking armor for those SMGs to find the frags. 11-6 the scoreline. The 4 spy fails, and HellRaisers realistically should be 4 rounds from going 2-0 this evening before Endpoint can form any kind of resistance.
Yeah, HellRaisers, the 12th round is basically guaranteed. At this point, you have to start asking yourself, Endpoint, how are you going to change things going forward? It's been a disappointing showing so far. Problem gets aggressive right now into lower tunnels and does find the kill. And the one glimmer of hope is that they've had some good individual shots coming in. So Crucial with the Deagle, Crucial with the Scout, Surreal with the Deagle, they've all been decent. But even over here, you can see they have some Deagles. They really wanted to get some damage in onto the CT side players. But the biggest issue is the CT side has now been able to keep their armor alive 2 rounds in a row. Now they've been able to keep some of these guns alive 2 rounds in a row. And on top of everything, they'll have a bonus round. Now, it's where you can punish his Endpoint, but if they don't win this one, CT side economy is going to be out of control for the rest of the game.
With Crucial going no armor behind that AWP, the MP9 has a world where it can be effective. It's got a chance to do some real damage. They're not going to commit to the long hold early HR. They're aware that there will be a firepower disadvantage, so no reason to try and heavily hold that one down. Just a lone Molotov to buy a little bit of time, and Endpoint will get that portion of map control relatively freely. But the counters do come in. Flareich starts to think about pushing down short, trying to take some kind of map control, some kind of information back for his team, because he knows they've lost long. And look, here we go again. CT sides pushing in towards the tunnels. It's going to be Surreal to try and deal with this against 2. He needs a quick headshot here, and he's turned the wrong way at potentially the worst possible time. He'll find the first. Doesn't take too much damage either. There's 2 more coming for him. He'll get the second before the trade, and that's all the information his team need. They've snuck up the left-hand wall, and it's an inevitable long take now for the T side. 4 on 3, a man up, an MP9 and a scout to go against. It should be a relatively free bomb site unless JR can hit a very quick headshot here. He needs it and he connects. Robin goes down, and this one gets interesting.
Problems also on the site with the AK-47. They realize where he is, and with the smoke there, he's peeked out, but he dies early on. He wanted to give JR a chance to get a shot in, and maybe he can finish up. JR does connect, and going for more. Flareich right behind him with the M4A4, waits for his death before peeking in. They're not going to be able to find anything, and with Surreal getting those 2 kills against the CTs in lower tunnels, that changes the entirety of that round. Of course, had Problem potentially waited a little while around Ninja, you know, maybe found the kill initially. There's so many different maybes that go into that round, but even so, at the end of the day, Endpoint come out on top, and now the CTs pull out the double off setup. Full investment coming through. 2 players up on short. Every single player on this A-bomb side early on.
Huge call from HR as well to try and stick Ops and Kalinka. He's already 16 HP. Just spam through the smoke towards Car. Everything seems to connect, and the AWPer already desperately low. So much investment to try and bring that setup out into this round. You can't afford to be going down to a fortunate spam through the smoke initially. Endpoint will have their long control. Do they expect JM? So aggressive down middle. Surreal just about reads it. Crucial takes out the second. And this CT setup is starting to fall apart. That double AWP setup, they wanted to go for it. It has not worked out at all. JR has missed his shot. Surreal capitalizes beautifully. And Flareich and Problem, well, they're on damage limitation now for the CT side.
Yeah, this is worst possible scenario if you go for a double up setup, not finding a single pick early on. They go for the incredibly aggressive short control with 2 players being boosted up, and although that's nice and can end up working out for you, I don't think it's a play that should be done with a double op, unless you have someone like JW, unless you have someone like Zaiwu, unless you have someone who is just an opera with explosive movement. Poison is another player who comes to mind, who can bunny hop out towards short, get you the information that you need, that, okay, fine, A, they're probably all on long or on B. B, I'm now in a position to push up long and try and flank them. Instead, what ends up happening is they just lose a couple of players. They completely choke pointed into a short again, and there you have it. Probably not a chokehold there, in all fairness.
All 5 rifles as well kept up for Endpoint. That cash starts to build, the confidence starts to flow. HR have to consider the eco. And there we go. The pause is called. And again, that vulnerability that we've seen on Inferno in the CT side of HR is starting to come out to play once more. They've called the pause. They know this is starting to get a little bit awkward. And they're not really going to be able to buy much of anything here. JR has already invested pretty heavily into the Deagle, considering he is the AWPer of the side. And you would have thought would be looking to buy that into the next one with just a 2-round loss bonus as well. Not really going to be able to afford that at all. The rest of them, I'm expecting pretty much default pistols at this point. There's no real money in the bank for the CT side. Flarich is going to have it all to do on that lone M4 and Endpoint. They're going to start to shut that gap even closer. They've got the full buy. They've got all 5 rifles saved from the previous, and they've got a huge opportunity to start building up their bank.
JR smokes himself off and is now backing off. Kalinka, in the meanwhile, with a great tag coming through. Actually, onto him, rather. I'm losing my words, Jackie. I'm losing my words. That's what's going on. HellRaisers loses lives, I lose words. That's how it works. HellRaisers is probably about to lose more lives than I have words, though, because they don't have much bought up. Interested to see how Flarich wants to play this. I personally am of the opinion that you should just try and save the M4A4, but wouldn't really hate seeing him go for a couple of kills just to try and keep the Endpoint economy humble. It's so difficult to do anything in the T-side economy, though. It's so hard. It's just ridiculous.
It really is. And to be fair to HellRaisers, this is one of the more common setups they've gone for. Majorative stack with the rifle on one bomb site. If they head there, sure, you've got the majority of your firepower. See what you can get done. One player lone towards car might even get his opportunity here because they haven't cleared him, and he will find one. JM able to take out Mighty Max before the trade comes through. So they get more than they could have really asked for from that position. He was mollied out of it. He just stuck around, kept his head down low, found a gap in the flames, and has managed to capitalize for at least one pick. The problem is 4 players are near enough inevitably going to stay alive at this point for Endpoint. Their bank is going to get even better still. The gap's going to go down to 3, and HR are going to have to look at it and try and scramble a buy together, try and scramble some kind of a defense where it has been absolutely falling apart. And these are the situations where life gets so awkward if you are on the CT side of things. It's where your holds haven't been working, but you can't build up enough bank to buy anything better. You can't build up enough bank to change your setup. So you've just got to keep trying and trying the same thing. And every time you do, your buy gets a little bit worse. You lose a couple of nades. You lose a defuse kit. Someone can't pick up the secondary AWP. And meanwhile, your T side, well, they're just buying over and over and over. It's relentless in the economy as it is at the moment. So for HR, it really needs to start working, and it needs to start working now.
And I have to point out that Surreal has been stepping up this game. Crucial's unfortunately not had a great performance. Surreal is now sitting at 20 kills while Crucial is on 7. So it seems to be the good old, hey, let's take turns to be stars, but again, you need them both to be alive. HellRaisers could still exploit. Great damage on the Mighty Max early on. He's left with just 12 points of HP. And as the T's peek out, JM might be able to start cleaning up house. Finds the first and the second through the smoke comes through. Flash is the one to really finish it off, though. And Flames takes down Kalinka. Trades are nice, but with Mighty Max being as low as he is, it's unlikely that they don't lose 2 more players as Flarich spray transfers for the 3K.
That is a lovely transfer to make it stick as well. And Crucial, well, he's been quiet, as you said. He's got a 1v3 to try and deal with here, to try and find a way into this for his team. The bomb dropping long was really just the nail in the coffin for Endpoint. And for HellRaisers, we spoke about how important this round was. They've managed to very nearly get it across the line. Now it's just about being disciplined, not giving anything away. Problem in the backlines will confirm that A-Long is clear. That should give the majority of the info. Crucial. Well, playing with fire is JR, taking a couple of peeks at his opposition AWPer with just a rifle in hand, but that gets them the info they need. The flank is very slow from Problem, and it is actually giving Crucial a little bit of breathing room here to potentially try and find something. JR again taking this peek, and he's playing with fire, but he's going to get away with it this time. Finds the headshot, 13-9. The gap starts to stretch a little further. But once again, that T-sided economy comes back. It's not going to get any easier. It's an immediate buy to counter from Endpoint. They've got everything they could want. They're actually playing a slightly different setup with the Mac-10 onto Mighty Max. That has to be a misbuy, right? There's an AK on the ground. Yeah, there we go. So they are going to go for the full buy, and they are going to contest again.
Money not really the biggest of issues for them. JL might be, though, as he's moved back to car. Now, Endpoint's been very good with consistently modding this off, so JR has to take the duel into pit instead. He does try and give himself some space, some room to try and get out of the situation, and bunny hops away to safety, but there's no one around to boost him up. There's no one on the A bomb site itself either. This is a really awkward position to be in. where they now have to retake from short and CT spawn. Not comfortable whatsoever.
Going to be easy. They're getting some good damage initially, though. Mighty Max and Surreal both within a one-shot headshot for those M4s, and it's going to be Jalen straight through the smoke, the first to fall. Robin, he was waiting for that. He knew the CTs would try something a little bit cheeky, and it is punished brutally. Already a man down. That bomb going to go get planted. Kalinka able to actually deny that for a split second, but Robin through the smoke has read the boost beautifully. And that bomb out in no man's land isn't going to be an issue much longer. HellRaisers, they've backed off. They don't want anything more to do with this. It's going to be another round going the way of Endpoint. They're going to have their double digits. And as soon as that gap started to widen, Endpoint have responded brilliantly. And HR, again, CT economy, absolutely brutal. They've got to three-man save if they want any chance of buying into the next.
That's also such a ridiculous setup, though. Like, it's nearly impossible to contest long with just an AWP in the modern meta unless the T's get an absolutely atrocious buy or they half-heartedly try and take long. It's so difficult. And after that, you also don't have any player to boost him onto the site. He doesn't feel comfortable going directly onto the site because he feels like he'll be spammed down due to the fact that the secondary smoke that the T's are thrown around the corner of long would be dissipating. So he instead goes directly to CT spawn. Now you're retaking with like 4, maybe even 5 players from CT spawn out to ramp. A player just pushes through the smoke without a flashbang, without anything. That's just messy all around.
Certainly not ideal, and even less so is Jalen dropping down onto the Deagle for HellRaisers. They've tried to get this buy going. It's taken some significant sacrifices. They do, of course, have those 3 saved rifles. They really form the backbone of this, and Endpoint, well, so far they've only got 1 bomb site in mind. 4 players in towards the upper tunnels, just Mighty Max to try and cut the rotations out into mid, and they might have just picked up their golden ticket here, Endpoint, because it's only Kalinka over towards the B-bomb site with that M4A1, and they're just going to commit full util dump. 4 players here. Kalinka able to get the first, though, staying alive on this bomb site, buying time, making a second before the trade, and he's bought a lifeline. But look at Mighty Max. His position is perfect. The drop is good for the trade. It's utter chaos, and somehow JM goes through the smoke. A problem with a double kill keeps his hopes alive. Mighty Max has got to come all the way in from middle, and now it starts to be about these timings. Problem close to the door, finds the dink through it, and Mighty Max into the 1v1. Flarich knows where the bomb is, knows Mighty Max's likely position, but the clutch is in. The UK man gets it with the triple, and how have Endpoint won that? The bomb was dropped in B, Mighty Max had to retake from mid, and somehow he's made it happen.
Problem felt like he had to aggress forward into mid just to know where the player is in a 1v2 like that. He felt like he had to be the one taking first aggression, first contact. But then he walks through the smokes and gets gray screen. And because of that gray screen, he's had to reface out backwards. Mighty Max comes out in the meanwhile, finds the kill, takes him down. After that, it's just a simple matter of repositioning. And it's a matter of, again, slightly awkward play from HellRaisers where they know Mighty Max can't have the bomb, but they want to face into him regardless. So I'm not sure what that's all about, but hey, these things will happen from time to time. Flarich, in the meanwhile, does connect with a great shot, picks himself up an AK-47, and actually, suddenly, things become doable as Robin has burned his own teammate to a crisp. If Robin can get a headshot here, which he does, it's suddenly just crucial, 32 HP, and Flarich on the other side makes this a perfect crossfire.
Crucial knows it as well. He can't afford to commit to this peak. He's got to fall back off towards middle and maybe hope he can catch a timing, maybe get that bomb plant down and give himself a chance. He's low on health. He does have that AWP, his one saving grace, but he's been quiet so far in Dust 2. He hasn't been able to find those big plays, and he's going to need a huge one here. Already being flanked from short. Both players from HellRaisers wanting to commit, knowing they need to take this 2-on-1, and Crucial, he's caught in no man's land, tapping away. The USP of Problem will do it. And HellRaisers will have 14 out of absolutely nothing. It's sheer chaos. A Molotov burns Robin to death. And, oh, you just can't even begin to describe it for Endpoint.
And with that, Endpoint's potentially miraculous comeback run is going to be put to the ultimate test, and that is the test of E250s and Galils. Much worse than the test of the Eagles, trust me. 3 players out and long will make this a much harder long take, but luckily for Endpoint, they've chosen to rush up short. Surreal is trying to move past the Deagle. JR comes out on top. He is very much dominating this short angle, comes in with another one. And although he misses his 3rd shot, will have a chance to get one through the wall. Barely saw a pixel there. And now it's all him all day, and he knows it. He's feeling it, but unfortunately what he's feeling is bullets to his body. Crucial takes him down. Kalinka and Problem fighting away, and now Problem's left alone in a 1v2.
Somehow Crucial has dragged this back. The setup's been good for Endpoint, and Problem, there's 2 low HP players ahead of him. He's found the first. Flame switches to the AWP, takes the fight and loses it. Problem, the run and gun on the M4 to make it happen. He's going to go all the way to the plat as well. With the defuse kit in hand, he's got all the time in the world. He'll pick himself up the AWP. He'll make sure his teammates have everything they could want. It's 15-11 in favor of HellRaisers. A 2v1 clutch from Problem to make it happen. And, well, we were worried about their CT side. It is looking hot to trot at the moment.
I mean, it helps when JR just gets 3 insane shots. especially that 3rd one. He barely sees the pixel. I swear, I think that was a bomb carrier, and he saw a pixel of the bomb on his map. That's how ridiculous that was. I don't even think he saw a pixel of the body necessarily. So, there you go. Sometimes these things just materialize, and Crucial is hoping that his scout can bring out a miracle in this round. We've seen it before. We've seen Surreal and Crucial make it work, but something tells me this might be a little bit different.
It's certainly a higher task, isn't it? With Deagles, AKs, and Galil supporting you against a full raft of everything you could ever want for Christmas. The AWP in the hands of JR. He has been popping off the 3 M4s, the organ. Well, Endpoint, they're hoping they can catch themselves a little bit of a timing here. Very quick up short. Still 1 minute and 20 to go. Of map control to work with. Nobody really on the site at all for HellRaisers. Looking to play the retake, and it's going to give a free site and potentially a free plant as well to Endpoint. As long as they avoid long, there's really nothing for them to worry about. Flames through the smoke will go down low on 7 HP, but it should still be the site. It should still be the plant. Flames will go down. And HR will have the advantage for the retake. Make it a 2-man. JR from long has chimed in again on that AWP. And there's just an AK and 2 Deagles remaining for Endpoint. They're stuck on this bomb site as well. They've managed to smuggle Robin out towards shore, out towards where that bomb is planted for. But this retake's coming in full force. Flashes fly through the air. And these 2 Deagles on site, they know they've got to get something done. Surreal finds 1, but it's J-Lam on the spray down for 2. And Robin, he's in the 1v4. There's damage onto all 4 of these players, but can he find the frags to keep Endpoint in this? The flashes are forcing him further and further back. J-Lam has stuck it. And Endpoint, they will go down 0-2.